Yeah, so why has the church lost its influence? So I think one of the reasons, you mentioned that stat of like a decline in people saying, or even just declaring that I'm a member of a religious institution. I think one of the reasons that even just religious institutions in general losing their influence is like, I'm gonna kind of turn it on its head and say, I don't know if it actually had that much of an influence on their day-to-day lives. So what I'll say is that like there may have been a time in even just American history where being a part of a Christian church was just a generally kind of like a positive aspect to your life. Like there might have been some positivity in that. There might have been like a way that you viewed yourself that you made yourself like, okay, if I'm like a whole person, like if I'm like a true American, like I got the job, I got the family, and I go to church every Sunday, sort of a thing. Like that was generally just a virtuous thing to do. I just don't think people feel that anymore. And so there's not necessarily maybe like an internal need to say, yeah, I declare, a house of worship or a place where I worship, because I don't really need that to operate. And so that's what I think would lead into the next thing, which is we've lost in our culture a necessity to gather together and to worship. There's just other things that offer the same experience out there. Like if what church is to me is, walking into a place and feeling like spiritually connected, well, there's just a ton of things out there that offer the exact same thing, right? And so if I'm not going into a church and truly experiencing transformation and formation into something else, then it's not that convincing, because there's just other things out there that are offering the same sort of general, here's good spiritual practices, here's things you should do and shouldn't do, and this is how you live the good life. And so my theory is, like, as far as why I feel like it's really declining, is because people for many years have been walking into religious institutions, into churches specifically, and just haven't been experiencing the transformation that I feel like the gospel is presenting. Because here's the reality, it's not that like the gospel has lost power, right? So the church may have lost influence, the gospel has not lost power. Right? It is still the most powerful and compelling message, I believe, that the world that you can find in the world, of transformation, of true change, of wholeness, of the good life that the average American is pursuing, right? But maybe what we need to change is really I think this is where most of my hope lies, is that I think that that's really what compels like people my age, like young people, is real transformation. And I'm not just talking about like religious transformation. I'm talking about like movements, like the culture towards things that, like, man, if I get on board with this thing, we can drive real change and tangible difference and shifts and just like good outcomes that are tangible. I think if the church can figure out a way to display that transformation in a fresh way to young people, that's going to be the most compelling thing.